Hey everybody, welcome to the GMG review. Today we're taking a look at Warhammer Age of Sigmar Chaos Battletome Skaven. If you ever wanted to play a bad guy army in Warhammer Age of Sigmar and you thought, I'd also like them to be hilarious, then the Skaven are for you. They haven't gotten a lot of love recently model-wise, but of course got a new character model in that two-player battle box with the Sylvaneth, a Eshin assassin. And I would say that of all of the Battletomes so far for 3rd edition, this one feels like it was like they actually took a stab at changing up how the army is structured. Probably not how it plays, but definitely how it's structured. I got to play against Skaven a couple times in this previous edition, and it feels like they always leaned into a clan, and that process tended to lock out certain things. This one, you can mix and match a bit more freely. So we got our beautiful color section about what's up with the Skaven. They're always gnawing on the roots of everything. I love that basically when the old world blew up, there was just enough rats laying around that they were able to reform their society no problem. And that the gnaw holes are basically interdimensional tunnels in between the realms that, you know, let the Skaven just be everywhere. Because if you got like mortal realms, then you got Skaven. They're there somewhere. Bits and keys about their civil war, how they were basically held back together by their big giant super vermin lord, who is the Lord Skryre, I think his name is, who's in charge of all of them. And the various clans. And then the beautiful color section, of course, not much new here, but showcasing stuff. I was a bit surprised they did away with the only remaining fine cast miniature in the Sylvaneth book I also reviewed today. But they kept all the fine cast in here. It's a bit strange. There's still lots of non-plastics. Of course, this Gracier and Clawlord are some of the modern plastic ones from the last of the Warhammer Fantasy Battle line. Same with the Gracier and the Screaming Bell, the Vermin, the Storm Vermin and the Clan Rats. I do love the sculpts for the Skaven. They were some of the greatest of the sort of final generation of Warhammer Fantasy miniatures. The Warpseer, because there's basically 4 different Vermin Lords. If you're not familiar with playing Skaven, they're all basically dedicated to an aspect of the Horned Rat that's kind of a different Chaos God. So this is kind of the Tzeentch one, there's kind of a Nurgle one, there's kind of a Khorne one, and there's kind of a, I guess, Slaanesh one is maybe the Assassin-y one, but they're all kind of dedicated to one of the different clans. The Warp Landing Cannon, the Warp Grinder Doomflayer, Warlock Bombardier, and the Arch Warlock. I like these sculpts, but I have to say the Jez Goodwin original Chaos Skaven stuff, there's some of the monsters he sculpted the most of besides the Eldar, like the non-human species. And the elves, sorry, and the original ones are tons of character. These are still great models, but the Jez ones are amazing. And then the new modern sculpted on a computer ones. Look at the difference between the sculpting style as it kind of changes the new Deathmaster versus the original Deathmaster Snitch. That's the Snitch model from the end of Fantasy, which was sculpted by hand, I'm imagining, and cast in fine cast. Such a different time. The Deceiver, the Helped Abomination, the Stormfeed with, I don't know, guns coming off guns. The Corruptor, and there's the rest of the color section. How to do it with wonderful, contrast paints, which are great for the saturated and the dark colors on Skaven. I think contrast is probably the way to go when you're painting that many models. And then we're into the army rules. All right, Ash, shut up and tell us, how does it play? Well, let me tell you, you got 3 core allegiance abilities that are unique to the whole army, or not unique to the whole army, but are across the whole army. And then each of the clans gets a master trait. Basically, if you include something from one of the clans in your army, it gets a bonus ability. And then on top of it, but it's not enhancements, it's not something you have to worry about paying for out of your enhancement pool. But then on top of that, if you take 3 or more heroes of that clan, you tend to unlock additional abilities on top of that. So the first things first, lead from the back. If you're within 3 of 3 or more Skaven non-monster models, you get -1 hit in melee. So just like Lookout Sir, you get lead from the back, which is Lookout Sir for melee. Scurry away in the combat phase, a Skaven hero, if you pick them to fight, they can just make a retreat move instead and just be like, deuces, I'm out, which I think is hilarious. And then strength in numbers, add 1 to the range of melee weapons used by friendly Skaven units for every 10 models in the attacking unit to a maximum of 3 inches. So your Clan Rats and your Vermin, your Storm Vermin, get an additional inch of reach, basically, for there being 10 or more. Now, If they're battle line, they're going to get extra stuff in the new General's Handbook, which is basically 40k melee. So that's going to be even more valuable. But basically means the Skaven are already kind of playing that way with additional reach. And then on top of that, you'll be able to fight even further back in the Pitched Battle 2022-2023 season. And then we're into the clan battle trait. So for Master Clan, Skilled Manipulators, roll a dice before you allocate a wound or mortal wound to any Master Clan hero that's not a monster. So basically all the Grey Seers. Or instead of making a ward roll for a wound or mortal wound, so it says instead, not before. And they would be allocated to a friendly Master Clan hero that's not a monster. So obviously, Thankful don't get it, even though Thankful is somehow alive 10,000 years later. And if you're within 3 of any friendly Skaven units that have 3 or more models. On a 3+, that wound or mortal wound is allocated to one of those units instead of the hero. So you have a 3+ wound redirect as long as you're next to more guys, and it ties to lead from the back. Also, if you include 3 or more Master Clan heroes in your starting army, after you pick a friendly Skaven unit from your army, you get the following 3 abilities. When you pick someone to run, if you pick your first unit to run for the turn after they make a run roll, not for if you forward into victory them, every other Skaven unit in the army can replace their run roll with that run roll. So if your first run roll for the turn is a 6, everybody can run 6, as long as you have 3 Master Clan heroes. When you make it your first charge roll for the turn, your first unit attempt to charge that phase makes a charge roll, and you basically after you make that charge roll, you can replace that charge roll for any Skaven in the army. And then after you pick a friendly Skaven unit in your army to make a pile-in move, every other Skaven unit within 3 can make a pile-in move, as long as they're within 3 of any units. And that doesn't restrict them from making a pile-in move later on. They don't fight, but everybody piles in. So basically, if you get a hot run roll for your first run roll, everybody gets to use it. If you get a hot charge roll for your first charge roll, everybody gets to use it. It's not has to, it's just may. And that's amazing. So, I mean, I don't know if you're always going to use 3 Master Clan heroes. The Master Clan heroes are, of course, usually all the Grey Seers. Grey Seers aren't that expensive if they're on foot. It does include, of course, Thankful as well, if you want to use him. Or Vermin King, because he's Master Clan as well. Grey Seers Master Clan. Grey Seer on foot is Master Clan. So all the Grey Seers. And the Vermin Lord Screech, the big character, and Thankful. Clan Moulder, prize creations. If you have a Helped Abomination, one of them can pick a mutation. If you have 3 or more Master Moulders, then you get to pick one for every single one of your Helped Abominations. Now, Helped Abomination is bananas, but it's a 2d6 move. Basically, all of these allow you to increase your abilities off of the core stats. So Tough and Sinews, you get an additional 2 wounds and a save characteristic of 4+. You improve your save and your wounds. So you're saved by 3 and your wounds by 3 and your save by +1. Lumbering Behemoth, you move in charge 7 automatically as opposed to rolling 2d6, which is great. Quivering Bulk, add 1 to each roll you make for your Avalanche of Flesh. Now, Avalanche of Flesh is basically your attacks. It doesn't have a stat line. It has a 3-inch reach. Every model within 3 inch, roll the Avalanche of Flesh thing on your wounds profile. It starts at 2+, and you're +1 now if you take this Quivering Bulk. It does a mortal wound if you roll a 2+. So basically, the further you charge it into stuff, then the more damage you do. Hey, if you take Master Clan, you can pile in twice effectively before you go. So, yeah, you can maximize how many units are within 3 of them and then blow them up on 2+s without mortal wounds. It's crazy. And then Accelerated Regeneration, you can basically, you heal D3 in your hero phase, now you're healing your opponents as well. Best Warpstone Spikes. Reroll the Warpstone Spikes ability. It's a 4+ dispel for magic that targets him. You get to reroll it now. And then Backup Organs. You can reroll the dice when you use this unit's Too Horrible to Die ability. That's when you die on a 1, you're dead. On a 2 to 4, you unleash a bunch of like mortal wounds because rats explode out of you. On a 5+, you come back to life. So basically, you're rerolling the 5+ to come back to life with your Backup Organs. So pretty cool for that older model. For Clan Eshin, at the start of the first battle round, after determining who has the first turn, pick an enemy hero and add 1 to hit and wound rolls for Clan Eshin models that target that hero. If you have 3 or more Clan Eshin heroes, then you just add 1 to hit and wound rolls against all heroes that are enemy heroes. Clan Verminus, Mighty Warlords, you get to the first heroic action you can carry out with a friendly Claw Lord instead of picking one from the table. If you do so, pick a command trait from the table that follows, and you can that you don't already have, and apply its effects. So you can learn additional command traits each turn. And if you have 3 Claw Lords, you can carry this heroic action with each friendly Claw Lord instead of just one of them. So everybody can pick an additional command trait to have an effect. And the same command trait cannot be picked with this ability more than once in the same turn. So Clan Skryre, Warpstone Sparks. If you include any Clan Skryre heroes in your army, at the start of the battle, this one actually requires you to pick, have a hero, but I mean, this one just means you need Clan Eshin units, and this one needs you have a Claw Lord. Before either player starts deploying units, you can roll a d3 and add 3 to the roll. If you include 3 or more clans, then you can roll a d6 and add 3 to the roll instead. The result is the number of Warpstone Sparks you receive that you can use during the battle. You can't use more than one in the same phase. Each spark allows you to do the following ability once. So you're basically going to get d6 plus 3 if you have 3 heroes, or d3 plus 3 if you have 1. In the hero phase, pick a friendly Clan Skryre wizard. You can roll casting, dispelling, and unbinding rolls for that wizard until the end of the phase. Then roll a die. On a 1, you take d3 mortal wounds. They're basically old Warpstone tokens. At the start of your shooting phase, pick a friendly Clan Skryre hero, and then pick up to 3 different Clan Skryre units wholly within 13. You can add 1 to the damage characteristic of missile weapons used by those units until the end of the phase, and then roll a d6 at the end of the phase. On a 1, the hero takes d3 mortal wounds. So that's super powerful because, like, if you are hanging out with Warp Fiends and those Storm Fiends have, oh, I don't know, let's say rattling cannons with 3d6 shots, now they're 3 plus 3 plus minus 1 damage 1, damage 2. Whoa. You double the damage output. Because that's a Clan Skryre unit wholly within 13. And 3 of them can get it. You can just blow up. I mean, even your Poison Globadiers could be d3 plus 1 damage. But I think it's all about the Storm Fiends. 3 units of Storm Fiends with double Rattling Cannon. That's where it's at. So 66, I guess the Rattling Cannons is 3d6 shots no matter what. But yeah, let's just go for some damage too. 2s and 3s minus 1. So good. The wind launches are cool too because they have higher range, but you just walk into the middle with the clubbing blows and you still fight pretty decently in combat. And then in the combat phase, you can pick a friendly Clan Skryre hero to fight. You say that they'll use this ability. If you do so, add 1 of the hit and wound rolls for attacks made by that hero until the end of the phase. And at the end of the phase, roll a dice, and on 1, take d3 mortal wounds. So the downside isn't that bad, and if you have as long as you have 1 Clan Skryre hero in your army, 3 units get to get that +1 missile attacks. So d3 plus 3 means that basically every shooting phase for the entire game, you're having damage to Rattling Cannons. That seems bananas. B-A-N-A-S. And also use Striking Wounds onto those same Storm Fiends. Clan Pestilens, Echoes from the Great Plagues. When you make a chanting roll for a friendly Clan Pestilens Priest, you can add 1 to the chanting roll for each friendly Clan Pestilens Priest wholly within 13. In addition, if the chanting roll for a prayer chanted by a friendly Clan Pestilens Priest is a 6+, you can pick 1 of the following Great Plagues to manifest. Each Great Plague can manifest only once per battle, and no more than 1 can manifest in the same turn. So the Bubonic Blight Plague, if this Great Plague manifests, pick a nearest enemy unit within 13 of the chanter. The unit's infected with the Bubonic Blight Plague. If several enemy units are tied, you get to pick the one which is infected. They take 2d6 mortal wounds. If the infected unit is destroyed by those mortal wounds, you can pick another enemy unit within 6 of the last model to be slain by the infected unit, and then they now are infected and take d6 mortal wounds. If they're also destroyed, you can pick another enemy unit within 6 inches, the last one to be slain. They're now infected and take d3 mortal wounds. Continue in this manner until either unit's not destroyed or there are no other enemy models within 6 of a destroyed unit. Holy moly. And it's the nearest enemy unit to the chanter, so you need to be able to, like, angle it. But if you're in combat with, like, a hero, you will just blow them up. The Crimson Wheel Curse. If this Great Plague manifests, pick the nearest enemy unit within 13 of the chanter. That unit's infected with the Crimson Wheel Curse for the rest of the battle. If several enemy units are tied, then you can pick. The infected unit takes a mortal wound. In addition, at the start of each turn, the infected unit and each other enemy unit within 1 of them take a mortal wound. So it's basically not as exploding as the Bubonic Blight Plague, but it's a slow grind of taking damage. The Red Maw Plague. If this Great Plague manifests, pick the nearest enemy hero within 13. That hero is infected with the Red Maw Plague for the rest of the battle. If several enemy heroes are tied, you can pick them once infected, if they're not closest. If they're all equally close. At the start of the combat phase, if the infected hero is within 3 of any other units in your opponent's army, and is not within 3 inches of any units in your army, then that hero is a friendly unit until the end of the combat phase. Basically, you give him rabies and he attacks his own army, which is great. And then the Never Plague, if this Great Plague manifests, you can reroll chanting rolls for friendly clan Pestilens priests for the rest of the battle. And the Undulant Scourge, if this Great Plague manifests, pick the nearest enemy unit within 13 of the chant and roll a dice for each model in that unit. If several are tied, then you can pick which one it is. For each 4+, take mortal wound. Yeah, so explode giant units. Reroll your chance for the rest of the game. You do that one first, usually in the first turn if you manage to get it. Make a hero be part of your army if he's in 3 of friends. He has to stay away from everything. Basically, you get wild form on them. Crimson Wheel Curse, take a wound every turn, and then the one that just explodes people. You manage to get it off on a low wound count guy. Now, I have a beef with this part. The upgrades section, they didn't separate it all by clan. They just kept it in giant tables, and I feel like you could have just basically done this, which they did with the spell lores and the prayers, where you popped them out by clan. So instead, it's very hard to look at. I don't know why it bothers me so much, but it didn't need to be a wall of text. It could have just been, here's the general ones, here's the master clan ones, because there's 1, 2, 3 master clan ones, there's 1, 2, 3 Moulder ones, and there's 1, 2, 3 Eshin ones. Then there's 1, 2, 3 Verminus ones, 1, 2, 3 Skryre ones, and 1, 2, 3 Pestilens ones. You could have just broken them out into separate boxes. So the one general one that is the Cunning Manipulation. Devious Adversary in the combat phase, if this general fights within 3 of an enemy unit that's not fought yet, add 2 to its attack characteristic, because it's distracted to its melee weapons. Then the Master Clan ones, so these are for Grey Seers. Supreme Manipulator. Master Clan hero only. If you can carry out a heroic leadership action with this general, you reroll the dice that determines whether or not you receive a command point. Master Magic, Master Clan, you reroll casting, spelling, and binding rolls, and Diabolical Schemer. Master Clan hero only, roll a dice each time an enemy model issues a command within 13 of them. On a 5+ does not receive, the command point is spent and lost, and you receive a command point. So he has a destroy orders thing. Cunning Manipulator. Cunning is, we're into Clan Moulder now, so these 3. Cunning Mutator. It's Clan Moulder here only. If this general is within 3 of a friendly Clan Moulder unit, before you allocate a wound or mortal wound to this general, or instead of making a ward roll or mortal wound, basically on 3+, you put it there instead. Into any Clan Moulder unit. So it doesn't have to be the usual one. So you basically get a version of the Master Clan one. Moulder Supreme. Moulder Supreme, it's like Beef Supreme, except ratty. Beef Supreme might be ratty too. You never know. Taco shops are not to be trusted sometimes, especially if they're large international chains. Master Moulder, Clan Moulder hero. Add 1 to hit rolls and wound rolls for attacks made by friendly fighting beasts, wholly within 13 in the general. That's a good one. Multiply all your big fighters. And then Horde Master, once per battle, if this general is on the battlefield when a friendly pack unit is destroyed, you can say they'll call for more creatures. On a 3+, a new replacement unit identical to the first is added to your army. Set them up wholly within 13 of the general and more than 9 for the enemy. And you can only replace them once. But it's not once per... Yeah, it is once per battle. And then Unrivaled Killer, we're into Eshin. So this general counts as 2 Eshin heroes for the purpose of the Master of Murder battle trait. So basically you count as... you could have 2 heroes instead of having 3. Shadow Master, the general cannot be picked up as the target of a melee or a missile weapon if they're within one of a terrain feature. And Incredible Agility, the general can fly. In addition, they can carry out their finest hour heroic action twice instead of once in each battle. Clan of Verminus, so the Claw Leaders. Verminus Valor, if this general is within 3 inches of another friendly Skaven unit before you allocate a wound or mortal wound to them, then 3+ relocates, basically giving you the Master Mold one. Savage Overlord, Clan Verminus hero only. If a friendly Skaven unit's within 3 of this general fails a battle shock test, you can say they'll restore order with Savage Brutality. If you do so, the unit has not failed the battle shock test but suffers D3 mortal wounds. That's the one you're going to want to have initially and then pass to somebody else each turn as a heroic action, because you'll keep the big units from exploding from taking casualties. And then Powerful Alpha, the first 2 wounds or mortal wounds caused this general in each phase are negated. That one is... I mean, it's just not a Claw Lord, but basically just being in every single phase, So when you unleash the Arcane Bolt on me, if you don't roll a 5/6, then I just don't take any damage, whatever phase that is. Overseer of Destruction. We're into Skryre now. This friendly weapon unit is within 13 of a general that is hiding a weapon team. Sorry. If a friendly unit within 13 of this general is hiding a weapon team and is destroyed, the hidden weapon team is not destroyed. Instead, before removing the last lane model, you can set the weapon team up wholly within 3 of this model and more than 3 enemy units. Masterful Scavenger. Add 2 to the number of Warpstone Sparks you get for the army if you have this as your general. Deranged Inventor. At the start of your shooting phase, you can pick a friendly clan Skryre unit wholly within 13. Add 1 to hit rolls for attacks made with missile weapons with that unit until the end of the phase. So you take that, you get your sparks, you load up the Storm Fiends with +1 damage every turn, and then you also give them +1 to hit. Master of Rotten Ruin. Add 1 to chanting rolls for your... We're into Pestilens, sorry. Add 1 to your chatting rolls. Architect of Death. Add 1 to the damage crusher for missile weapons used by friendly Plague Claw units wholly within 18. And Ridden with Poxes. At the end of the combat phase, roll a dice for if this general is within 3 of an enemy units. On a 4+, each enemy unit within 3 takes D3 mortal wounds. Alright, and it's the same thing again for all the artifacts. So, for every clan, and then we're into the spells and stuff and we're done. The Gnaw Shard, this is Master Clan. So there's 3 for Master Clan, 3 for Moulder. Yeah, 3 for everybody. So the Gnaw Shard, pick one of the bearer's melee weapons. If any wounds caused by attacks made with that weapon are allocated to an enemy unit, they take a mortal wound at the end of each turn, even if they're healed. So you infect them. Skaven Brew. Once per turn in your hero phase, you can pick another friendly Skaven unit within 3. That unit takes D3 mortal wounds, but they're +1 of the attack characteristic of their melee weapons. And then Staff of Rightful, basically hands out the party drugs. Staff of Rightful Supremacy. Subtract 1 from casting rolls for enemy wizards within 13. In addition, once per battle in your hero phase, when a friendly unit attempts to dispel an endless spell within 13, it's just automatically gone. He just goes, no. The Lash of Fangs. This is your Moulder heroes now. Pick 1 of the bearer's melee weapons. If the unmodified hit roll for an attack made with that weapon is a 6, does D3 mortal wounds. In addition, normal damage. The Rabid Crown. And this is all Moulder still. Add 1 to hit rolls for attacks made by friendly Moulder fighting beasts and fighting packs for units wholly within 13. That one's amazing because it's all the units within 13. The Foulhide. Clan Moulder hero only. The bearer has a wound characteristic of 10. In addition, at the start of your hero phase, you can heal a wound allocated to the bearer. You don't want to die. And then we're into Eshin, the Shadow Magnet Trinket. Once per battle, at the start of your combat phase, you can say that the bearer will use this artifact. If you do so, the strike first effect applies to the bearer. The Far Skitter Cloak. Once per battle, at the end of your movement phase, you can remove the bearer from the battlefield and set them anywhere in the battlefield, more than 9 from the enemy. And then Gnaw Bomb. Once per battle in your hero phase, pick a train feature within 6. Until the next hero phase, that train feature has the scenery rolls for the Gnaw Hole War Scroll, in addition to any other scenery rolls, because you basically blow up you do a sling ring thing. You Doctor Strange a big portal. All right, into the Verminus Hero's Shield of Distraction. Verminus Hero only. The bearer cannot be picked as the target of a combat attack by more than 1 unit per phase. The Rust Cursed Armor. Add 1 to save rolls for attacks that target the bearer. In addition, at the start of your combat phase, pick an enemy hero with an artifact of power within 3 and roll 2d6. If it's higher than their bravery, they no longer have that artifact. A Warpstone Charm is subtract 1 from save rolls for enemies that are within 3 of the bearer. At the start of your hero phase, roll a die and a 1, take D3 mortal wounds. And then an Esoteric Warp Generator. Clan Skryre heroes only. At the start of each battle round, you receive an extra Warpstone Spark if the bearer is on the battlefield. That Warpstone Spark can only be used to carry out a Warpstone Spark ability with the bearer in that battle round. If it's not used, then it's lost. So basically, free ones every turn. Vial of the Fulminator. Clan Skryre hero only. At the start of your movement phase, you can pick a friendly Clan Skryre War Machine within 6 of the bearer. Double their unit's move characteristic until the end of the phase. But at the end of the phase, roll a die, and on a 1, it takes D3 mortal wounds. The Brass Orb. This is the old Vortex Grenade for Skaven. Once per battle, at the start of your hero phase, you can pick an enemy unit within 6 of the bearer and roll a die. On a 3+, remove that unit from the battlefield. At the end of the turn, your opponent must set them up on the battlefield wholly within their territory and more than 9 from all enemy units. You just teleport them away. The Blade of Corruption. Clan Pestilens, now we're at a Skryre. Pick one of the bear's melee weapons. If the unmodified wound roll for an attack is 6, it's rend -3 and damage 6 for that attack. Holy moly. Yeah, damage 6, rend -3 if you roll a 6 to hit. And a Pestilens hero has quite a few attacks usually. No big deal, just a Plague Priest. He's got, with his Warp Tip Staff, D6. It's the crew that have, or sorry, D3. It's the crew that have 6 fetid blades. Where's my Plague Priest? Just D3 attacks. With his Plague Sensor and Warpstone Tipped Staff. You'd take the Plague Sensor, I think, just to be consistent. Then you have the Fumigatus. At the start of the combat phase, pick an enemy unit within 3 of the bear and roll a die. On a 1 or 2, nothing happens. 3 to 4, they take D3 mortal wounds, D6 on a 5/6. Blistruvius, the Living Cyst. The strike first ability applies to the bear if they make a charge move. Starting with the second battle round, at the start of your hero phases, you must transfer this artifact to another friendly clan Pestilens hero in the battlefield if it's possible, even if the hero already has an artifact of power. It jumps around. Well, I think, I think the Skryre, like, the most obvious one is the shooting combo so far with the Skryre combo, but the Pestilence stuff's pretty cool too. Especially +1 damage on your Plague Claw, but your Plague Claw doesn't make that many shots. It's the fact you can give +1 damage to Rattling Guns. Your Plague Claw stuff is just like the Plague Claw Catapult, because it's the only thing with the Plague Claw keyword, I'm pretty sure. Nope, the Furnace doesn't get it. And the Sensor Bears don't get it. So it's literally just this thing with 1 shot. So it's D6 +1 damage. Not as good. All right, Spellords, Master Clan, the Grey Seers. Scorch. Cast on 5, range 13. Pick an enemy unit within range invisible and roll a number of dice equal to the casting roll. For every 6, take a mortal wound. Meh. If it was a 5/6, maybe. The Sylvaneth get 5/6s. Skitterleap. Cast on 6, range 13. Pick a friendly Skaven hero with 13 or less wounds. That's within range invisible. So basically, all your big boys. Remove them from the. It's basically everybody except for Thankful. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, because he's got 14. So everybody but Thankful gets to do this. Remove them from the. You can just basically throw them anywhere, not within 9 of the enemy on the battlefield. And then Death Frenzy. It's a spell that has a casting value of 7 and a range of 13. Pick a friendly Skaven unit that it's not a hero that's in range invisible until your next hero phase. If any models in that unit are slain, they can fight before they die. Then we got Lore of the Warp Volt Galvanism, your Skryre Wizards. More power! It's cast on 7, range 13. Pick a friendly Skryre unit wholly within range invisible. Add 1 to hit and wound rolls for attacks made by that unit until your next hero phase. Then they take D3 mortal wounds. Well, hello, Rattling Guns. I mean, I keep coming back to it, but you can take Storm Fiends as battle line, I'm pretty sure. Storm Fiends. Show me the Storm Fiends. Storm Fiends, 320. Battle line, you can include 1 unit of these as battle line for each clan Skryre hero you include in your army. For 320 points for 3. So yeah. They have 6 wounds each though, which matters for the pitch battle stuff. They don't get to be Galician veterans, unfortunately. But you didn't really need them to be, because you're just going to line up little guys in front of them and then huck Rattling Guns at people until they die. Up to 1/3 of the models in this unit, rounding up, can be armed with one of the following. So, Rattling Cannons and Clubbing Blows. Up to 1/3 of the models can have a Doomflare Gauntlet and Warpstone Laced Armor, or Shock Gauntlets and Warpstone Laced Armor. So basically, they have to be armed differently. They can't all 3 of them have Rattling Cannons. But you're going to have 1 of each. You're going to have 3d6 shots from one of them with the Rattling Cannon. Then the Wind Launchers will also shoot. But it means everybody gets Clubbing Blows. Oh no, but you can't do, it's Wind Launchers or Warfire Projectors. So yeah, you do the probably Wind Launchers and Rattling Cannons. I mean, it's 3d6 shots on 2s and 2s, if you jack them up. I would do it, and I would just take 6-man units, so I could have twice as many, and then jack them up all with the spells. Chain, I do a reinforcement on them, basically. Chain Warp Lightning, cast on 7, range 13. If successfully cast, each unit within range suffers 1 mortal wound. And then Warp Lightning Shield, cast on 6. If cast until your next hero phase, the first 3 wounds caused to the caster in each phase are negated. If a 4th wound is caused to the caster in the same phase, then the caster suffers 3 mortal wounds and the spell's unbound. So if you do 4 wounds to him, then the shield explodes and he takes his mortal wounds on top of it. All right, prayer scriptures. So disease is a prayer that has an answer value of 3 and a range of 13. Advance to pick an enemy unit within range invisible and roll a dice for each model in that unit. On a 5+, take a mortal wound. But does not affect Nurgle. Filth. Pray, it's answered on 3 with a range of 13. Pick a friendly clan Pestilens unit within range invisible and add 1 to wound rolls for your attacks. And then Rabid. Answered on 3, range 13. Pick a friendly clan Pestilens unit and add +1 attacks to melee weapons to your next hero phase. And then it's Path to Glory. As you can imagine, it's all about causing disease to things, building gnaw holes, and generally infiltrating your opponent's terrain. I like this one because it's all tied to Vermin. It's just an ambush. And then we're into match play stuff. All right, so your grand strategies. Well, as you do, the council is in charge. So these are your orders from the Grand Council. The Shapers of Beast Flesh. When the battle ends, you complete this grand strategy if there's 3 or more friendly Master Clan or Clan Moulder heroes from your starting army on the battlefield. Massive Execution. When this battle ends, you complete this grand strategy if there's 3 or more Master Claw or Clan Eshin heroes. So that's an interesting one because it mixes Master Clan on all of these. So it doesn't punish you for having a Grace here on top of stuff. And then Claw Masters, same with Clan Verminus and Master Clan. It's all about the leaders surviving, basically. And then Warpstone, Weaponsmiths, Master Clan, and Clan Skryre. And then Arch Corruptor of the Mortal Realms. When the battle ends, you complete this grand strategy if there's 3 or more Master Clan or Clan Pestilens heroes from your starting army in the battlefield. So basically, the whole grand strategy thing is just keep your heroes alive. Have 3 or more heroes alive at the end of the day. It doesn't matter who else dies, just keep your heroes alive. It's very fitting for Skaven. And then Battle Tactics, Restore the Beast. Pick a friendly Ratogre unit in the battlefield that has 3 or more wounds allocated to it. You complete this tactic if that Ratogre unit has 0 wounds at the end of this turn. Now, that could also be that they die. As long as the unit doesn't have anything allocated to it. Deathmark, pick an enemy hero in the battlefield that has a wound characteristic of 10 or more and has 0 wounds allocated to it. You complete it if that hero is slain by a Clan Eshin unit. That one's going to be hard to do. And then Fire, more. Pick an enemy monster on the battlefield. You complete this tactic if that unit is destroyed by attacks made with missile weapons from Skryre units. And Crescendo of the Diseased Choir. Complete this tactic if 3 more prayers chanted by different friendly Clan Pestilens priests are answered this turn. All right, well, let's get into some stuff. I'm just going to do an overview of anything I see that's changed, but there's quite a bit of stuff here that is different. Primarily on everybody, that 3rd edition thing where your wound track got less severe is in effect. So core stats have stayed the same here, but his wound track is basically halved. So it's up to 6 wounds. His move is 10, crushing blow 6, and +3 to cast. 7 to 8, 9 inches, 5 and +2. 9 to 10, 8 inches, 4 and +1. And then 11 plus 7 inches, 3 crushing blows and +1. He casts 2 and binds 2. His Staff of the Horn Rat looks pretty much the same. Warpfire Braziers, the same. And his crushing blows are the same. Core stats are the same. Of course, Bone Ripper's a mount. He's got a 5+ ward save now, which is nice to shrug all his damage. Power Behind the Throne. Once per battle round, you can issue the same command up to 2 times in the same phase, but they must be received by a friendly Clan Skaven unit. No command point is spent the second time. Staff of the Horn Rat. Add it to your... Add the Staff of the Horn Rat's value on the damage table to your casting, unbinding, and dispelling rolls. And then Warp Amulet. At the end of the combat phase, heal D3 wounds allocated to this unit. And Warpfire Brazier. The attacks characteristic of the Warpfire Brazier is equal to double the number of Warpfire Braziers that with which this unit is armed. And you can take any combination of Warpfire Braziers and Warpfire Projectors. And then your projectors, don't use the attack sequence. Roll X dice for each model where the number of X is the number of Warpfire Projectors you have. For every 4+, take a mortal wound. So if you walk up next to a unit of like 20 goblins and you have 2 Warpfire Projectors, you roll 40 dice and every 4+ is a mortal wound. So just take out 20 goblins basically. You would almost always do 2 and 2. Do 2 of the Warpfire Projectors and then 2 of the Warpfire weapons, or crushing blows rather. Because the bracers are also pretty great in melee for damage to flat 3. Warpstone Addiction. Once per turn in your hero phase, when this unit attempts to cast a spell, you can say they're going to consume a Warpstone token. Roll 3d6. This roll cannot be rerolled or modified. If it's 13, the spell is successfully cast and cannot be undowned. However, you take d6 mortal wounds. If it was not 13, remove 1 dice of your choice and use the rest as your casting roll. And then Madness, you cast on an 8+, has a range of 3 inches. Pick an enemy here within range invisible, and roll a number of dice equal to the combined value of the attack's characteristic of all melee weapons the hero is armed with. For every 4+, you can pick an enemy unit within 3 of that hero to take a mortal wound. Basically, you turn somebody on themselves. All right, we're into the Vermin Lords. Now, the core stats are the same for all of these, so all 5 of them. I have the new damage table where it goes to 6 before they bracket. 12-inch move goes down to 6-inch move. The bottom's lower here. And then 4, 3, 2, 1 for their tail attacks, and 8, 7, 6, 5 for the Plague Reaper here. He's got his Doomglaive. This is Screech, the unique one. He casts 2 and unbinds 2. 5+ ward save now. The 13th headed one. At the start of your hero phase, pick one of the following areas of knowledge to have. So he can be Knowledge of the Arcane. You can do these once per game, basically. It's either +1 to casting, unbinding, and dispelling. Heal D3 wounds allocated to them. For every hit of 6 on a Plague Reaper, you get a mortal wound in addition to normal damage. -1 to hit for attacks targeting them. Your rend of your Doomglaive is 3, and your damage is 3 on it for Warp Tech. And then Knowledge of the Warrior, +1 to wound rolls for all your attacks. You're the Rat King. You use command ability when you pick a friendly Skaven unit to fight in the combat phase. That unit must receive this command. Add 1 to hit and wound rolls for them. And then the dreaded 13th spell. Cast on an 8 and a range of 13 inches. If you cast it, pick a enemy unit within range and roll 13 dice. For every 4+, take a mortal wound. You can then summon 1 unit of clan rats and add it to your army. The summoned unit must have 1 model for each mortal wound that was caused by the spell. The summoned unit must be set up wholly within range of the caster and more than 9 from the enemy, and they cannot move in the following movement phase. So you basically make more clan rats by transforming them out of the 13th spell. All right, so all the rest of these guys, the core things are basically the same stat-wise for the prehensile tails. Their melee weapons tend to change, and they get an additional ability or 2. So they've all got the same 5+ ward, cast 2, unbind 2. The Vermin Lord Deceiver throws a Doomstar, and if you do a 6 to hit, then you get 2 mortal wounds, and the attack sequence ends. Other than that, it's like D6 shots, 3+, 3+, -1, 2 damage. He's Lord of Assassins. You can use command ability when you pick a clan Eshin unit to fight. You get +1 hit and wound. So basically, each of these guys is tied to a clan. They have the same ability that the 13th does, but it's not any unit. It's just their clan unit. Shrouded in Darkness. You can't shoot him from more than 9 inches away. And Dreaded Skitter Leap. It's a spell that casts on 6 and has a range of 18. Successful, pick a Skaven hero with a wound characteristic of 13 or less and remove them from the invisible. And you can remove them and set them up anywhere more than 6 from all enemies, but can't move in the movement phase. And he can do it to himself. So you can Skitter Leap anywhere on the table outside of 6, which is amazing. The Corruptor. So same core stuff. His Plague Reaper is... how many attacks at the beginning? 2d6 to begin with. 3+, 3+, -2 damage. So he's pretty fighty. Has the same cast 2 and bind 2. He's got his 5+ ward. If you hit with a 6 on the Plague Reaper, it does a mortal wound on top of any normal damage. He's the Plague Master. At the end of the combat phase, roll a dice for each enemy within 3. On a 4+, they take D3 mortal wounds. And then Lord of Pestilens, he can issue the +1 hit and wound to Pestilens. And Dreaded Plague, cast on 7, range 13. If cast, pick an enemy unit within range invisible and roll a dice for each model in that unit. On a 4+, take a mortal wound. So he's got a good big unit disruptor. I'm surprised they didn't make him a priest. The Warbringer, the aspect of Khorne, he gets a Doomglaive and Spike Fist. The Doomglaive's the same as the one on the big guy, Screech. Although he casts 2 and unbinds 2, which I think is interesting too. 5+ wards. His Amidst the Seething Tide, you can reroll wound rolls for attacks made by this unit while it's within 13 of 3 or more friendly Skaven units. And then the Fist of Verminus Supremacy. If the unmodified hit for a Spike Fist is a 6, the characteristic of the damage is 6 instead of 3. It has 2 attacks with it, 2+, 2+ to start off with. And then Tyrant of Battle uses command ability on Verminus units, and they get +1 hit and wound. And then Dreaded Death Frenzy, it casts on 7, range of 13. If cast, pick up to D3 friendly Skaven units wholly within range invisible until your next hero phase. When they're slain, they can fight before they're removed from play. And then it's just the Warp Seer. He's got a Doomglaive, which is the same as everybody else's Doomglaive if they have one. Same core stats, same 5+ ward. Fourth Children of the Horned Rat. It's surprised they didn't give him an extra cast, just for being a wizard. Friendly Skaven units wholly within 13 of a bravery characteristic of 10. I like these holding a Necron artifact too, which I think is hilarious. The Great Manipulator, he counts as 2 Master Clan heroes for the purpose of always 3 claw steps ahead. And then Skryre Orb, add 1 to save rolls for attacks that target this unit. So you get a 3+ save for basically everything, but he can't all attack or all defense. In addition, once per battle in your shooting phase, you can pick 1 enemy unit within 13 of this unit, invisible. The unit suffers D6 mortal wounds, but you cannot use this ability to add 1 to save rolls for attacks for the rest of the battle. So he spends it, basically. And then Dreaded Warp Gale, cast on 8, range 18. If cast, pick an enemy unit within range invisible. They take D6 mortal wounds. In addition, run and charge rolls for that unit are halved until your next hero phase, and if they fly, they cannot fly. So, yeah. I don't know. I really like the... I mean, Screech is great, but I really like the Deceiver. Just for his ability to just go wherever he wants, be within 6, and then charge. And he's fighty enough that he's going to dumpster most baby units. He can just bully baby units. 5+ ward save means those 13 wounds count for a lot more. And yeah, his like not being able to be shot from outside of 9 means he can go grab objectives. And he's a monster, so he can rampage, he can trample. I like him. All right, that Grace here on Screaming Bells, 15 wounds. Ugh, so what's changed for him? Well, obviously his damage track has changed. That's one of the big things. A, B, C, D. No, that's a Gracier. Just a regular Gracier on foot there, Ash. You want the one on the Screaming Bell. Yeah, so he's got the same wounds, same core stats. He has 3 attacks, 4+4+, -1 D3. His core stats are basically the same. It looks like, but his damage table's changed. No, actually it hasn't. Oh no, sorry. You know what? It's exactly the same as in here because it's the same as the one that was in the booklet. So you guys have seen all of this already. Gracier on foot. Have you changed? I forgot he was in that new booklet. Gracier on foot. He's same core stat wise, same weapon wise. Cast 2, unbind 2. Having a 2-cast baby hero is pretty great. Eats a Warpstone token, same as the big guy. And then Wither, cast on 7, range 13. Pick an enemy unit within range and roll 2d6. If it's greater than their wounds characteristic, they take D3 mortal wounds and you can subtract 1 for hit rolls they made. Good old Arch Warlock. What do you got going on? He is same core stats, same looking attack stats, D3 attacks. Actually, D3 attacks instead of 1 now. But it's 4s and 3s -2 damage. So he got more consistent. And his Piston Claws, the same. Cast 2, unbind 2, which is nice. And the same as before. Oh, no, he got an extra unbind. It was unbind 1 before. Warpfire Gauntlets, a 2+ D3 mortal wounds within 9. More Storm Cage. Before you make an attack with a halberd, you can overload its generator and you get D6 attacks instead of D3. But every hit of 1, you take D3 mortal wounds. And then you can cast Warp Lightning Storm on a 7. And range 13, pick 3, so up to D3 different enemy units within range invisible, and then take D3 mortal wounds. Alternatively, before you cast it, you can say you'll use your Warp Power Accumulator to augment it. If you do so, if it's successfully cast, pick D3 different enemy units, take D6 mortal wounds. However, if it's not cast or unbound, you take 2 times D6 mortal wounds that can't be negated. So you blow yourself up, basically. Your Warlock Engineer. He's got same core stats. Pistol is 3 shots now. That's cool. Instead of 1 at -2/1 damage. So basically they flipped the D3 damage into 3 shots instead, which is nice. A little more consistency. And they took the same and they took the damage rating on the Warp Energy Blade and gave it to his attacks. He has D3 attacks now. Cast 1, unbind 1. Same more Warp Energy and Warp Lightning thing. And then your Bombardier, cast 1, unbind 1. What do you got going on, Bombardier? Same core stats. He's got D3 shots on his Doom Rocket now and flat damage 3, made a little bit more consistent. And his melee attacks went up by 1, so it's 4+4+ instead of 5+5+. More Doom Rocket. If you do so, you get D6 attacks instead of D3, but every 1 you take D3 mortal wounds. And then Warp Lightning is the same as on the Warlock Engineer. It's just 1 unit instead of D3. The Warblending Storm is D3 units as opposed to just 1. You can jack it up the same way. I already looked at Storm Fiends. We love them. They're great. 6 wounds, bravery 6 for plus save. They're elite. They issue their own commands, but you have to have 1 of each weapon type. Your Doomflare Gauntlets give you +1 to your attack characteristic if you charge. Your Grind Fist Tunnelers, you can set them up in reserve and like drop them in later. Shock Gauntlets, if you hit with a 6, you do D6 hits instead of 1. And then your Warpfire Projectors, 4+ mortal wounds for each model in range. For your shooting, Warplaced Armor, you become 7 wounds instead of 6. And then Wind Launchers don't have to be visible. And add 1 of the wound rolls if there's 10 or more guys in the unit. Good old Warp Lightning Cannon, 8 wounds, 3-inch move, 4+ save, bravery 4. Doesn't roll to hit, no attack sequence. Just roll 6 dice for each one that's equal to greater than the power of the attack. Dig mortal wound. Do not make, instead roll a dice to determine the power of the attack. Then roll 6 more dice. Oh, right, so you roll 1 for your target number, and then roll 6 more dice to see what happens. It's so random. So if you roll a 1 on the first die, then you do 6 mortal wounds. But if you roll a 6, then you're going to get probably 1 mortal wound. It's such a random ability. And then more Warp Lightning. Before you roll the dice, determine the power of the attack. If there's a friendly Warlock Engineer within 3, you can say that they'll increase the weapon's power output. Roll 12 dice instead of 6 dice. However, for each unmodified 1 of those 12, the unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. Then you get your Warlock Bombardiers, can still run and charge. They take 1 attack at 9 inches, 3+, 3+, -2 D3 damage. And then add 1 to your wound rolls. So you'd be on 2+ to wound if you have 10 or more guys. Good old Doom Wheel, not a monster. Still just gigantic. Come on. I need to find the Warp Fire Throw, or sorry, Warp Doom Wheel. D. Other end of the thing, Ash. Nope, those are rats. Nope, that's the Doom Flare. There we go. Same core stats. The gun is exactly the same. The grinding wheel is exactly the same. The teeth and knives are the same as well. Oh, 4+, 4+ for the teeth and knives. When it moves, it can pass through models with 3 or less wounds. In addition, when it moves through a unit on 2+, they take 3 mortal wounds. And then more speed. When you make a normal move with this unit, you can roll the roll to determine its move. However, if any of those dice are 1, your opponent makes the move instead of you. And then more Warp Bolts. Before you determine the Warp Bolts, you can overcharge it, roll 2d6 instead of d6. However, if you roll a double, they take d6 mortal wounds, which could just kill you. I love how random it all is. And we're into like the resin units now, like the Warp Fire Thrower. A classic miniature, a beautiful miniature, but I'm surprised it's still here, to be honest with you. Of course, that's the same. You use the normal to hit of everything in range on a 4+, takes mortal wounds. You can hide them inside the Clanrats and Storm Vermin. Your Jezzails, 30-inch range, 3+, 3+, -2 damage. 2 wounds each because it's a weapon team. Warpstone Snipers, if you roll with a 6 to hit, then you do 2 mortal wounds. The attack sequence ends. And your Pavis, you get +1 to hit rolls for attacks made with Warlock Jezzails if they don't move, and +1 to saves as well. So we have a good old Rattling Gun, still hilarious as ever, 12-inch range, 2d6 + 3 attacks, but you can double it to 46. But if you roll any doubles, it's destroyed when it's done shooting, because it can unleash the gimbal. It's hidden like all the other weapon teams, you can pop it out later. I mean, for 65 points that it is, I might just shoot it and let it do its thing the turn I revealed it, because it might just die afterwards. It's only got 3 wounds. The Doom Flare, another weapon team, 2d6 move, d6 attacks, 3+, 3+, -2 damage. And you can put it into overdrive and roll 2d6 attacks instead. But if you roll a double, it's destroyed after you're done. Either a double or a 7, sorry, then it's destroyed after you're done. And it's also hidden. The Warp Grinder, it's a Tunnel Skulker. During deployment, instead of setting this up, you can put it reserve a reserve, and you can put a unit with it. So you can set something up in reserve and have it deep strike in later on. But they can't be a monster or a war machine. And that's your Plague stuff. I already talked about the Plague Claw. It's not great. 1 shot, 3+, 2+, -2 d6 damage. Barrage of Disease. In addition, if there's 10 or more models, you get +1 to hit with it, and its damage is 2d6. So It's a good single shot, don't get me wrong. And they're not that expensive. Plague Claws are... not here. I'm looking for artillery, because I know it's an artillery piece. Do I just not see it, or am I just losing my mind? I don't see any artillery. Oh, there it is, beginning. It's right at the top. 135. Kind of expensive, but against like mass unit armies, it could be pretty good. And it's 6 to 30-inch range. The Plague Priest on his big old murder cart. He's got his Great Plague Sensor. And it's pushed into battle. He can move 6 inches unless there's... he can't move unless there's someone within with 10 or more models in range. Has a 5+ ward. No battle shock tests for Skaven units within 13 of this unit, which is amazing. It's an Altar of the Horned Rat. Get your Great Plague Sensor. Don't use the attack sequence for it. Just pick an enemy unit within range and roll a die. On a 2+, take a number of mortal wounds equal to the value. So D3 plus 4 mortal wounds. And then subtract 1 for wound rolls for melee weapons that target this thing because it's poisonous fumes. And Pestilens. Pestilens has a prayer of answer value of 3+ and a range of 13. If answered, pick a point in the battlefield within range and visible. And roll a dice for each unit within 3. On a 4+, they take D3 mortal wounds. And if that unit's a Clan Pestilence unit, heal D3 wounds allocated to that unit. He's got the same, the Plague Priest has the same spell. It also has the poisonous fumes. And add 1 to its damage characteristic if it charged with its Plague Sensor. And then your Plague Monks. We're into the battle line choices now. 1 wound, 6+ save, bravery 5. But they throw a lot of dice. Attacks 2 to hit, 3+, wound 4+. And then the bringer, you have your champion who's a bringer of the word. And your standard bearer has a icon of entropy. If this unit includes any models with an icon of entropy, each time a model from this unit is slain by an attack with a melee weapon, before resolving the attack and removing something from play, roll a die. On a 6, pick an enemy unit within 3 of the slain model. That unit takes a mortal wound. So basically, when people die in your unit while you have an icon of entropy, whenever anyone dies, roll a 6, you take a mortal wound. It's like a better version of the Stormcast exploding. +1 run charge for your musician, and then Book of Woes. In your hero phase, you can pick 1 enemy unit within 13 of this unit's bringer of the word, and roll a die. On 1 or 2, nothing happens. 3, 4, they take a mortal wound. 5, 6, take D3 mortal wounds, but doesn't affect a Nurgle. You get 3 attacks each when you charge in the same turn, and your fetid weapons on a 6 to hit have a -2 rend. So still probably the best battle line unit, but they are like crazy expensive. Plague Monks are 90 points for 10, which for you is crazy. For Skaven, for a 6+ save 1 wound guy is crazy expensive. And you only get 1 unit for each Clan Pestilence hero in your army, so to have your army based on them, you need a lot of guys. Your core battle line are just Clan Rats and Storm Vermin. But they're good. I like that miniature right there. That miniature, Lord Skrulk, that miniature is like 30 years old. That's a Jess Goodwin Skaven Lord Skrulk miniature in this book still. I love that that's in there. It's not, it's an amazing miniature. I love that that's in there still. I'm pretty sure that's the original Lord Skrulk miniature. I'm like 90% sure. I love that's been turned into Finecast and it still exists. Sensor bearers, smaller units, 3 attacks, 3+, 3+, -1/2 damage. Add 1 to the attack characteristic if they make a charge. Add 1 to wound rolls if they're within 18 range friendly Plague Monks. And then poisonous fumes, you're -1 to wound them. And then we're into the Verminus stuff. So the Claw Lord, 5 wounds, 4+ saves, pretty fighty. 6 attacks, 3s and 3s, -1/2 damage. He actually is pretty stabby. That's a decent like profile for fighting. Add the number of wounds allocated to this unit to its attack characteristic for its melee weapons. So it could have 10 attacks at 3+, 3+, -1/2 damage when it's wounded, because it's a Cornered Fury. And then Gnashed on the Bones, you can use this command ability when you pick a friendly Clan Verminus unit to fight, they get +1 attack. Then we're into the stuff from Underworlds, so Skryre. He's a decent enough fighter, he's got the same core stats as the other Claw Lord. He's just a nice Claw Lord model too. There's always more. At the start of your hero phase, in this unit's, if this unit's within 13 of a Spike Claw Swarm, you can return D3 models. You cannot ever return Kirk the Almost Trusted. Okay, if Kirk the Almost Trusted dies, then then the unit can't come back. Gnashed on them bones. You can use command ability when you pick a clan Verminus unit to fight, a +1 attack. The champion is Kirk the Almost Trusted. Do not take Battleshock tests for this unit if it includes him. In addition, if a friendly Skryre by Klein is slain, add 2 to the attack characteristic of Kirk's Rusty Spear for the rest of the battle, because he's imitating. And then Aversion to Death. After the first wound or mortal wound is allocated to this unit in any phase, they get a 5+ ward until the end of the phase. So as soon as one guy dies, they all get a 5+ ward. I love that ability. And then Clan Rats, we saw the updates to them in Storm Vermin in the booklet, but still kind of the same. Remember, you're getting an extra range, though, on all your attacks if there's 10 or more. You get +2 to your run rolls for your Musician. You can retreat and still charge for your Standard Bearer. And at the end of every Battleshock phase, just get D3 guys back. Same command stats for the Storm Vermin. Better attacks, obviously. 2 attacks, 3s and 3s, -1. And then Elite Bodyguards. If a Skaven hero is within 3 of them, when you allocate a wound or mortal wound to that hero, instead of making that ward roll, roll a die, and add 2 if they're Clan Verminus. On a 4+, it's allocated to them instead. So even if they don't have that ability, the Storm Vermin basically backwards give it to them. Packmasters are cool, just little upgrades. They're pretty cheap. At the start of your movement phase, you can pick a friendly Clan Moulder pack unit wholly within 13 of this unit. And to the end of your next movement phase, you can add 3 to run and charge rolls. In addition, until your next movement phase, add 1 to wound rolls for attacks made with melee weapons by that unit. And then a Master Moulder, who's the big one. Again, I'm pretty sure he's a resin miniature. I'm pretty sure he's not plastic. 6 attacks, 3s and 4s, -1/1 damage. And his Thing Catcher, 4 attacks, 4s and 4s, -1/2 damage. He can also crack the whip. And then in your hero phase, you can pick a friendly Clan Moulder pack within 3 of this unit to heal D3 wounds. And then unleash more beasts. Use command ability if a unit in the battlefield when a friendly Clan Moulder pack is destroyed. If you do so, roll a dice on a 3+, a replacement unit, identical to the one that was destroyed, is set up wholly within 12 and not within 9 of the enemy. And you only destroy each unit once. But basically, he recycles all your pack units. And that is not this guy, obviously, with his amazing avalanche of flesh and come back to life and regenerating. We've already basically been through his stat line. But Rat Ogres are pack, I'm pretty sure. Yep. So your Warp Fire Gun, I think 1 every 2 models can have a Warp Fire Gun, which at D3 shots, 4+, 3+, -1/2 damage. 4 attacks each, 3+, 3+, -1/2 damage. There's just better ogres. And then Rabid Fury, if the unmodified hit roll for an attack with Tearing Claws and Blades is 6, it does 2 hits instead of 1. So exploding 6s all the time. They're a really decent fighting unit. 6 wounds, though, unfortunately. Even though they're battle lines, they can't become Galician veterans in the new pitch battle profile. But a 4+ armor save, and they are 140 points for 2. Not bad. Rat Swarms, just 4 wounds, no save, 6+ move. You can just return a slain model of this unit at the end of every Battleshock phase, though, so... Ironically, I don't think they can be battle line, but I was going to say, could they be Galician veterans? No, they're just 55 points for 2. And then Giant Rats. Can they be battle line? Giant Rats, Giant Rats. 60 points for 6 Giant Rats. You can include 1 as a battle line choice for every Master Moulder. So the Giant Rats can be Galician veterans. Hilarious. Wave of Rats, improve the rend of their teeth by 1 if they have 3 to 5 models. Improve the rend characteristic of this unit's species by 2 if it has 6 or more models. Deathmaster is the same as the booklet. Slink, we've already seen. I like that he can run and still shoot. I like that he has his toxins. His paired weeping blades are pretty great, but they're the same basically as the Deathmaster. He just gets an extra attack. And his claw plank can, during deployment, instead of setting them up, you can start in reserve. If you do so, then when you would set up a slink, then you can set them up too. You can still run and shoot. Gutter runners, 5+ save. They have their throwing stars for 4s and 4s, and punch, dagger, and blade. Again, I think those are resin old miniatures. And then, man, these plastic night runners. These came out in Mordheim in 1999. They're 23 years old. Actually, they might even been out before Mordheim, but they were in Mordheim. 6+ armor save, bravery 4+. They are 4s and 4s, 1 damage with 1 attack with their stabbing blades, and they mostly just throw throwing stars. But they can still run and shoot. If you hit with a 6, it's a mortal wound for everything, all their shooting and combat. And then after deployment, but before the first battle round, they can move 2d6. All right, that's endless spells. The Vermintide, cast on 5, range 18. Set up in range invisible and more than 1 from any other models. Predatory moves 7. Ravening Horde. After this endless spell is moved, the commanding player can pick 1 unit within 3 and roll 13 dice for each 6 to take a mortal wound. In addition, roll 13 dice for each unit that finishes a normal move. Run, retreat, or charge within 3. For each 6, they take a mortal wound. It's just there as like a blob. The Warp Lightning Vortex, cast on H, range 13. Set up 1 part within range, and the other part's exactly 7. So basically you're making a big triangle. After this endless spell is set up, and at the end of each movement phase, roll a dice for each unit within 6 of this endless spell. Add 1 to the roll if the unit's within 6 of 2 parts. Add 2 if it's within 6 of 3 parts, so like you managed to surround it. On a 4+, take D3 mortal wounds. On an unmodified roll of 6, take D6 mortal wounds. And units within 6 inches or 3 inches of this endless spell can't retreat. Or sorry, can't run, rather. The Bell of Doom. It casts on 5, range 13. Set it up within range, more than 1 from anything else. And it's predatory, it can go 2d6 and fly. After it's moved, roll 3d6 on a 13. Each unit within 13 of this endless spell takes D3 mortal wounds. It's removed from play because it tolls, basically. And Boldness or Despair. Don't take Battle Shock for Skaven, but your -1 bravery for all their units within 13. And then your Nahulls. You get 3 Nahulls when you play this army. You set them up anywhere. More than 3 from all their objectives and terrain features. More than 18 from all their non-hulls. And more than 8 from the battlefield edge. Sorry, hull within 8 of the battlefield edge. If both players can set them up. And then you roll to see who goes first. And it can be in any part of the territory. Impassable, you can't move over it. Unless it can fly. Tunnel through reality. Once per turn, you can pick, during your movement phase, pick a friendly Skaven unit wholly within 6 of this terrain feature. Pick it up and set it up wholly within 6 of a different Nahul that does not have any enemy units within 3 of it, so you can block them. And you can use it for each of the Nahulls on the table, they can use it. Or of the Horned Rat, add 1 to chanting rolls for friendly priests within 3, and add 1 to casting, unbinding, and dispelling for friendly Skaven within 3. And that's it. Point values. The Catapult's 135, the Warp Lightning Cannon's 150. The Jezzails they do count as artillery, they're 120. Interesting. For 3. Clan Rats are 20 for 100 in their battle lines. Stormvermin are 10 for 135. Doomwheel's 185, and it's a behemoth still. Weird. The Hell Pit is 245 and is a behemoth. It's weird that Doomwheel's a behemoth choice. The Arch Warlock is 155, Clawlord's 110, Deathmaster's 165, Gracier's 125 is pretty cheap. Master Moulder's 90, Plague Priest's 100, Skryre and his Swarmer's 165, and Slinker's 225. The Bombardier's 115, the Engineer's 105, the Gracier on a Bell is 325. Then Skryre is only 425. The Plague Priest on a Plague Furnace is 335. Thanquol's 415. Verminlord Corruptor's 360. Deceiver is that's why I like him so much. He's cheap. The Deceiver's 405. The Warbringer's 395. Sorry, it's the Deceiver I liked. And the Warpseer's 370. Doomflayer's 65. Giant Rats are 60. Gutterrunners are 105. Netrunners are 90. Packmasters are 65. And you kind of have to take them if you're taking your big beasts. Censer Bearers are 90. Monks are 90. Rat Ogres are 140, Rat Swarms are 55 for 2. A Rattling Gun's 65, and then Skryre Acolytes are 75. You include 1 unit of this type as a battle line unit for each Clan Skryre hero you include in your army. Skryre Acolytes. Did I pass by them? Clan Skryre Acolytes. Engineers, Graciers, Arch Warlocks, Stormfiends, Acolytes. Oh, that's what they're calling Poison Wind Globadiers now. My bad. I was like, what? The name didn't recognize me for a second. I was like, they're just Globadiers. And then Stormfiends. I'm using 20-year-old names for everything. The Stormfiends are 320. And they can be battle line for each of your heroes. Warpfire Throwers are 70, Warp Grinders are 65, and the Bell of Doom is 60, Vermintides is 60, and the Warp Lightning Vortex are 80. And you can be allied to Magakin of Nurgle only if your general is Clan Pestilens. Because they're friends in Nurgle. And that's it! The Chaos Battletome Skaven. So, a bit more streamlined in mixing the clans. I like that you unlock abilities based on your hero number, but even just taking like a Hellpit Abomination, you get at least one of those cool mutations and stuff like that. Without it being like enhancements or not enhancements, it's just a thing. yeah, and the book seems fun. I'm a surprising amount of old models still in this book, and I just love the Skaven. I love their theme. I love their story. I love how long they've been around. I loved seeing the original Lord Skrulk in there still. That still blows my mind. I'm 90% sure that's still Lord Skrulk. I love that that's still in there. But funny how they did that and yet took the branch wraith out of the Sylvaneth. So I like this tome. I think it's some armies need more reimagining into the 3rd edition of this than others. These guys lean into Battleline a lot, although a bunch of their choices won't count as Galician veterans. I think in this edition, or this season basically of Pitched Battles, their ability to have so many models that are Battleline is going to be pretty powerful. And I love the Skryre miniatures. I love all the things about their big Warp Lightning guns. So I feel like if I do a Skaven army at some point, it'll probably be the Master Clan fella. I do him and just a Greyseer. Take Screech, and then just take a Greyseer on foot, and that way I count as having 3 Master Clans, so I can do that first roll. That's the most important one to unlock. And then a couple Warp Block Engineers, just so I can get some tokens. So a big fat unit of Storm Fiends, like 6 of them. And then a whole bunch of, maybe 1 Claw Lord, and then a whole bunch of the just like meat and potato stuff. Grabbing Clan Rats and Storm Vermin to fill in the wraps. And that's it. There's easily a 2,000 point list in there where you're not paying too many guys because, you know, if you're taking a Vermin Lord and you're taking a Greyseer and you're taking, what's it called? The big fella. You're spending quite a few points. In like right at the gate, basically. Because I could do him and a Greyseer on Screaming Bell for 325. So 750 basically already spent on 2 big models. And then go for like a little guy. I like the Vermin Lord. And yeah, and play through into that like holding zones and jumping around things. Because you already have the ability to teleport with the movement shenanigans would already be done because you'd have the knot-holes in general, and you can use them to up your casts and stuff too. So a neat book, a neat reimagining. I'm able to wrap my head around this one a little bit better because I feel like taking the general as a certain clan doesn't lock out the other clans. Now I can mix and match a little bit better. And the bonuses are a bit easier to track. I felt like just understanding how the prayers worked in the previous one for Clan Pestilens was like melting my brain. This one seems to be a little more straightforward. So I like that. I love the old Skaven models. And I love them in fantasy. So maybe I'll paint up some new Skaven. So anyway, there you go. My GMG review of Chaos Battletome Skaven. Big thanks for watching. Thanks, I'm Ash. Hey there. I hope you enjoyed that video. There are tons of other games already recorded for you to watch. Click over to my channel page if you haven't already, and have a look through the dozens of playlists full of videos. I guarantee you'll discover a game you haven't seen played before. I put out new videos 7 days a week, and every day is themed to a different genre as I continue to explore the wider world of gaming. Of course, none of that's possible without you, the viewer, so click a like and subscribe if you'd like to stay on top of what's happening here daily. My 2 kids and I are massively grateful to be able to have the flexibility of this job so I can always maximize my time with them. If you want to support me continue to put out this content, it's only possible because of my amazing backers on Patreon who support the studio, equipment, and model cost, as well as being how I make the bulk of my living. You can also help out by buying a t-shirt through Spreadshirt, a measuring gauge or widget from Death Ray Designs, or buying one of my games and supplements like Last Days, Gamma Wolves, and Blaster. As a way of showing my appreciation, patrons get early access to new games and supplements that I write throughout the course of the year. Huge thanks for watching, it really does help out, and happy gaming.